It's dirty work, but David Brockschmidt says he's helping feed the hungry and aid the poor. And when he picks the right bin, it can be a bonanza.
David Brockschmidt is Adelaide's Waste Not, Want Not crusader.
During the last 3 years, David Brockschmidt and Norman Barber have been rummaging through supermarket dustbins.
Odyssey program reporting on David Brockschmidt, who claimed supermarkets were wasting huge amounts of food.
Seems to be that we can't use it, you can't have it sort of attitude.
When I can see that all these big companies run the policy by their American mother companies, and their attitude is what we don't need, you should not have.
The driving force of dumpster diving is when you experience hunger as a child, especially after World War II. Everything is destroyed. People lived like rats in the basements, in the cellars. And you know what hunger meant. That you realize what food value is. Well, my name is David Brockschmidt, and I choose the name David in the Anglo-Saxon world because my birth name is Wolfgang. And the reason I'm not using to be Wolfgang anymore is because every time people call me Wolfgang, they call me Wolfie, and I don't like that, and I have to tell the life story of Mozart or of Goethe. I've been dumpster diving in Australia for approximately 35 years, nearly 15 years in Germany, in Berlin, the town I come from. If there's a public access, as far as I know, and as far as the law of trespassing goes, there is no legal problem of stealing from bins or trespass. The food I find goes to different charities in town, and they will then decide what they can distribute to needy people. They come and pick it up. Some of them are intellectually and physically handicapped. They have to be looked after in their homes. So it has to be deliveries have to be made to them, and it also goes to women's shelters and men's shelters and charities in general. And some of the goods where they can think because they're past the use-by date, which is another subject, it all will be used in their kitchen. Before 1970, there were no use-by dates in Australia at all. But Mother Nature gave us a tongue to taste, a nose to smell, an eye to see, fingers to feel, and a brain to be used. They should use their brains and their instincts. Well, people will say, yeah, it's out of date. And I always say, yeah, so am I. But I'm still fit for human consumption. Ask my girlfriends. Normal perishables where you have so-called shrinkings, as they call it, fruit and vegetables. And you really can't blame the shop owners for it, because the supermarket managers, they get caught out. And it has to be nice and presentable and have to have full shelves. But you also have slightly damaged goods. I mean, they do have little shelves in some supermarket where they say reduce to clear, which is good. But in my own experiences, it is kind of a window dressing exercise, because the amount which goes into the bins through the back door is about 4 to 5 times as much than what they're trying to sell in the stores. And the reducing of the prices is really not that much. You could say we can have it for half or less. Now, sometimes it's only 10 or 20%, and people say, past the date, it's a bit damaged, doesn't look, or shop soiled or whatever. So I'd rather pay 20 cents more and get a fresh product.
You've got an obligation to not sell anything that's not of consumable quality to customers, something that was spoiled or had gone mouldy or something like that. So about 20 years ago, we used to donate quite a lot of food to the Salvation Army. What happened probably, say, 15 years ago, the whole, let's call it an industry or a market segment, became a lot more professional, and organisations such as Food Bank and Oz Harvest started to develop. What we're finding now is that the charities don't really want any food from us. What they prefer to get, they either prefer to get donations or vouchers. I think there's definitely a need for those products for needy people, but I guess by the time we give vouchers and the customers come in and buy exactly what they want, You know, what's left over to be thrown out may not be what they want. It's probably the stuff that nobody wants to buy. So,
I'm an employee for Eundunda Farmers, and I look after the fresh produce department. Our process basically begins from our warehouse in the market, where we buy, so it's paddock to plate with Eundunda Farmers. Growers come into our premises and we purchase directly off growers. There's a rotation process that we have in place. A product that comes in on a Monday, if there's stock left over on the Wednesday, that gets rotated, which obviously gets brought to the front. Fresh produce comes in from growers and that gets placed to the back. So we're always ensuring that whatever stock that we have in on hold goes out first. We like to buy as we need, and we encourage our stores to do the same. It's the consumer that basically dictates how we buy. If they're buying in that 2-day to 3-day period, well, we're purchasing or repurchasing in that period as well. We have in our produce market a stall called Food Bank, and we want certain sizes, certain blushes or blooms with apples, and if they don't meet those standards, they get knocked out. So when they get knocked out, then they go to Food Bank, which is a charity organisation for the needy.
There are confrontations sometimes, but the attitude of some people also within the management system, not only in the food industry, is that what I can't have, you shouldn't have either. And of course I had clashes and I had a court case running, but what they intended to do, they're trying to give me a criminal record. Supermarket waste is a big problem worldwide, but to make this public, which I've done the last 30 years, and I think other people done that too, change their attitude, or the politicians change their attitude, and the business community, and that's why we have a food bank, for example, in Adelaide, and Second Harvest and other organizations doing a good work. Optimism is good, but we should not pretend that we live in La La Land. We should have a realistic approach in trying to solve the problems in a constructive way, not in a destructive way. You have to reach the people and come up with solutions which creates win-win situation. So the idea now is to also the homeless I trained come when the night shift is grown, before the waste trucks arrive in the early morning, and don't make a mess and don't make any noise. Also look after the people who cannot look after themselves anymore, whatever the reason is, and leave it at that. And don't aggravate anybody, because it will only backfire. We all have to work together to solve the problems for the present, but also for the future. And by the way, I won the court case, in case you wanted to know that. Thank you.